Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video and welcome to a Tanstack router tutorial for beginners. If you're looking for a modern, type-safe, and flexible routing solution for your React projects, Tanstack router is one of the best options out there. It is TypeScript friendly, it uses file-based routing, and its configuration doesn't use a lot of boilerplate, making it one of the biggest in the industry. A lot of people choose to just use plain old React router or whatever comes with Next.js or whatever comes with their specific framework, but I still think that Tanstack router is one of the options that you should try at least before deciding which one you want to use in your next project. If you're interested in checking out the code for this video, it's going to be in the description together with a link to my website, PedroTech.co, where I post articles and tutorials on web dev in text form. Before we get into this video, if you could just leave a like and subscribe, that would help push my videos to more people, and I would be very grateful if you could do so. So with that in mind, let's get into the video. Okay everyone, so before I explain to you guys everything code related, I wanted to get a little bit into what exactly is the Tanstack router library and why you would possibly want to use it instead of other libraries such as React Router. Well, Tanstack router is a new routing library designed by the same people who made React Query or Tanstack Query, and it aims to develop a flexible routing system that is also fully type safe. So this is a great library for everyone who uses TypeScript for their application and everyone who wants to maintain themselves inside of the Tanstack ecosystem. Also, it integrates very easily with React and specifically with Vite, which is what we're using to create our React app over here. But it also includes integration for other solutions like Next.js as well if you want to. And to be honest, both Tanstack router and React router are good options. And I think that the benefits of having some type-safe routing whilst also the notation and how you structure an application using Tanstack router might make you want to use it instead. So my aim with this video is present and explain the library, and you make the decision in the end on if you want to use it for a future project or not. So now that I got all of that out of the way, let's start by installing the package inside of our project. And now that I got all of that out of the way, let's start by installing the package inside of our project. So the first library I want to install is npm install at Tanstack, and then I want to put /router. This is just the actual Tanstack router library, but we also want to install, and I'll make this developer dependency, and I'm going to install the @Tanstack /router plugin, and this will help us integrate Tanstack router inside of our Vite app. So to integrate it, we have to come to our Vite config, and over here at the top we need to import the router plugin from the @Tanstack router plugin library, and we have to specify that we're using Vite, and then we can just import the Tanstack router Vite and just implement that inside of here as a plugin for our Vite app. Now let's get at the part where we actually start setting up the folder structure for our routes. So in Tanstack router, the way we structure it is we'll have a folder here in our project and we'll call it routes. And inside of it, we have to set up a single root route. And this root route is going to be _root.tsx. Now, as you can see, it auto-generated this for me, which is one of the beauties of having the plugin in our Vite app. But basically, what this route looks like is very similar to how all of our other routes are going to look like as well. So in your Tanstack router project, you're going to have a root component or a root route, which is going to be almost like a layout route that you're going to show in every other route that you have in your application. So here is where you probably want to put your navbar if you're going to have one, or your footer if you're going to have one as well. For example, let's create here a simple navbar. I'm just going to delete this over here, and we can put here a link from React Router or Tanstack React Router. And this link, actually, let's make it like this. We'll set a link to the homepage, and I'll set another link to the contact page. I don't know. Let's make contact page, and then let's make another one for the about page. So different routes that we might want to have in our application. Obviously, in a normal application, you should probably gather up your nav bar and put it all inside of a single component where you're going to handle that and handle all of the UI. But for now, we're just going to put it over here. Now, what exactly is this outlet component over here? Well, the outlet component is where your other routes are going to be rendered. So this root component is going to be rendered no matter the page that you are. But depending on what your URL is going to be, so if it's an empty URL like this, an empty path name, then it's going to show something. If it's /about or /contact, something else is going to be rendered inside of this outlet, meaning that we want to put our navbar above it and our footer below it. Here you could put, I'm not going to put anything really, but you can put something like copyright PedroTech.com. I don't know, something like that, right? You know what a footer is. But the outlet here is what changes depending on what your route actually is. And this is the format of most of the route components you're going to have in a Tanstack router project. You're going to have to export a variable called route, just like this. And depending on what type of route you have, you're going to use a different function. This was auto-generated for us. The create route function is the only file where you're going to use the create route route because this is the only route route that we're going to have. Then we have here a component that we're just going to put directly as the component field inside of this function. Now, I know that might be a little bit confusing, so let's go on to build our first actual route instead of just the root route. So to create a route, we'll create first our index route, which is going to be the one that is going to show up whenever we don't have anything in our path. Right now, it's just showing the default Vite boilerplate code, but we want to show up, something related to the home page. So we're going to create over here an index.tsx component. And as you can see, it will auto-generate this file route over here. You see that the function is different from what we had for our root, but the structure is pretty much the same. It generates everything for us, and that's the great part of it. We now just have here a little div with saying hello / we're going to change this to homepage so we can have a visual representation that our routing system actually works. And I am currently running my app, right? As you can see, I have my app running down here. But if you don't have your project running, or if you already had it running and you had to reinstall the install the package, I recommend you closing this up and running npm run dev again, because what you need to do by running it again is allow Vite to exercise its tools in this plugin and generate this file in our application whenever we create a new route, which is the route_tree.gen.ts. You're not going to touch this route, this file over here. This file will contain everything that we need to make our entire routing system type safe, and also to actually make our routing system work in our project. This file will constantly be updated as we add more routes in our project. You see right now, there's only one route with one path. But if I wanted to create the about route, we could do something like this, about.tsx, and this will obviously auto-generate the route for us. We can just change this to say something like about page, and let me also put an h1 tag because I want to make this show up pretty clearly, and let me change the other one to do this as well. Sorry about that. Let's change this to home, and perfect. Now let's go to the route tree gen. I just saved my files. I didn't do anything. I didn't have to rerun it. You should see that now the about is considered a path over here. And that means that we fully integrated Tanstack router in our project. However, you might have noticed, especially if you've tried opening up here, what is this? Why is it not showing our homepage with the root route, right? Why is it not showing our navbar, our footer, or our page? Well, because by default, Vite doesn't actually have Tanstack router, right? So in the default Vite application, they have this app component that comes with the boilerplate, and it generates this whole thing. So we want to delete this app.tsx, and in our main.tsx over here, we'll delete the import, and we want to make some changes to actually integrate the routing system in our project. So this is probably the last time you're going to touch this main.tsx file. And it's probably the part where I think most people learning will get a little bit confused, but I don't think it's a problem because you will barely touch this file after generating this, and it's almost always the same. So what we want to do here is import here at the top from the @Tanstack React router. We want to import two things. First of all, we want to import the create router function, and we want to import the router provider. Now down here below our render function, we want to import our route tree. So that file that I said that it was auto-generated, we want to import it over here. Then we want to use that route tree to create a variable called router and use the create router function. And we'll just pass the route tree over here. Now that we actually integrated that, we need to declare and register the router instance for actual type safety in TypeScript. So we have to say declare module at, oh, actually, let me make this a string, at Tanstack/React router. And then over here, we're going to declare an interface and say register. And we'll define the router to be a type of router. Perfect. And now that we have that out of the way, all we need to do is call the router provider inside of here. And this router provider will require a route to be passed, or a router to be passed. And obviously it will be this variable over here. Now, if I save this, you should see that it actually starts showing our routes. And it shows, obviously I didn't put any CSS, so let me zoom in a little bit. The point of this video is not decoration or making it look good. It's just teaching you guys the routing system. But basically, we have here our navbar, which is the one defined in our root component. And then since we are in the /home, we are in the home page. But if I were to move to the contact page, oh, I didn't link the contact page. I'm sorry. Let me put a 2 over here and say contact. And let's do the same for and a 2 /about. You see that the about doesn't error, but the contact does, which is a great demonstration of the type safety that Tanstack router actually has, because it knows that there is an about route, but it doesn't have a contact route because we haven't made it yet. So let's create here the contact.tsx, and you'll see that it will generate this page as well. Let's just grab the same UI and put it inside of here and just swap this with contact. Perfect. Now let's save this, and the root component over here. Now, if I click on the contact page, it actually navigates to the contact page, and the outlet component gets replaced with whatever is inside of that specific route component. Same thing with the about, same thing with the contact, and so on. So that's the basic of the routing system. This is where if you're used to React Router, now you have some routing in your project. Now, let's talk about a concept which is very easy to implement using Tanstack router, which sometimes is overlooked by a lot of developers, and it will help a lot with performance and decreasing the bundle size of your application. And obviously what I'm talking about is lazy loading, or otherwise known as code splitting, which is a powerful technique for improving and for reducing the amount of code that you have to load in when your initial page loads. And more importantly, it will only load your actual code whenever it's demanded by the user accessing your website. This makes your project a lot faster and a lot leaner. Now, how do you do that with Tanstack router? Well, it's extremely easy. All you need to do is, for example, we have here our index.tsx. It's our home page, of course. If I want to make this component or this route be lazy loaded, what I need to do is first of all, I need to change the name from index.tsx to index.lazy.tsx. And you'll see that it automatically updated this to say create lazy file route instead of the create file route. And that's literally it. It's being lazy loaded. Obviously, this isn't something that you can immediately notice, but as a developer, you should know that this is going to help your routes. So by default, you should probably be lazy loading most of your routes as well. Let's just swap this one as well. And then let's swap this one. And this is great because I don't know if you know, but I have a video on code splitting in React. Oh, what happened here? Oh, it seems like I accidentally changed something on that file. So let me just close that. Make sure you're never in the route page. And then I'll just come to this file and it'll automatically save everything. And yeah, it works. But what I was saying is I made a video on code splitting in React, and it's a whole thing. It's not that difficult, but at the same time, just changing your file name to .lazy is super easy as well. And it saves you a little bit of time coding, which is pretty good. Now, what else would we want to know about setting up routes? Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is how to actually navigate between the routes without having to just click links, right? If you want to be redirected, this is used usually by using the navigate component or the navigate function in React Router. So how do you do this in Tanstack Router? Well, to navigate in or redirect in Tanstack Router, it's basically the exact same thing. What you want to do is import the use navigate hook and just call it and this structure into a navigate function, set it equal to use navigate. And then whenever you need to use it, for example, imagine you have a button over here, and for simplicity reasons, I just want to say navigate to about page. Obviously, if this is all that this button does, you would be way better off just putting a link around this and then it will automatically do that. But imagine you have some logic that when you click on this button, you want to deal with, and then when it's done, you want to navigate to a different page. Well, on this on-click over here, we can just say navigate and then pass in the to property over here and specify that we want to navigate towards a specific route. It shows over here which ones we can. I'm going to choose about, and you should see that when I click on this, it should redirect us to the about page without using a link, which is great. Now, the next thing I think is extremely important for you guys to know for whenever you're learning any type of routing library is how to work with dynamic routes. So I have a really cool example here where we're going to be working with this API. It's a public API, so if you need to use it, just feel free to just go to this link over here. And what it does is whenever you fetch data from the posts / a specific ID, it will give you some gibberish like fake data related to a post, so you can test in your application. You can see that the ID in the param matters a lot. So what I want to do here is I want to set up a route in our application that is going to display the data from this posts. So if I go to the route / I don't know, post /5 on our project, I wanted to display this data and actually grab this information and fetch the data based on the params in our project. So that means that here, if I go to post /2 or 3 or whatever, it should show the third post or the post with ID third from this API being displayed in our project. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, to do that, let's come over here and let's create a folder called posts. And then inside of here, we are going to have an index.tsx. It's going to generate it for us, and it automatically recognizes that we're inside of the posts folder and that this is supposed to be the route. So if we go to posts over here, you should see that this is what shows up. Now, I want to make another version of this, which is going to be one that accepts a param. And specifically, the param I want to accept is the ID param. So to do that, we just have to put a money sign and then the name of the param we want, which is ID in our case. And then just define .tsx. And as you can see, it recognizes that we want to have a route for posts / the ID. Now that we have that, let's come to our posts over here, and let's actually set up a link over here, which is going to navigate us to a specific post. I want to just have something here for us to be able to see. So let's click, just have post over here, and let's click post 3 or something like that. And then when we click on this link, we want to go to /posts/3 probably, something like this. And to do that, we just have to put here /posts/$ID, not actually directly put the ID there, because then we just pass the params over here, and we specify that the link, oh, I just realized I didn't import this this component, but yeah, we pass the params, and then inside of here, we have to pass the ID and specify that the ID is 3. In this case, we'll go to post 3. So it is asking, oh yeah, we have to make this into a string. Sorry about that. Obviously, we'll recognize it as a number later on, but we need to pass it in as a string. You'll see that now in our /posts, we just have one link called post3. And if you click on this, it takes us to this specific route. But how do we fetch the data and get whatever ID is in this param? Well, in our ID route over here, let's do something cool. So inside of this thing over here that we have the component, let's add another thing. This is going to be called the loader. And what this function does is it is an asynchronous function that will be called before the route is loaded. And if you throw any errors inside of here, the route won't actually render the whatever code is inside of here. If it is thrown during a navigation, the navigation will be completely canceled and the error will be passed to a specific function called onError. And we could define that over here as well. But it's a great way for you to do stuff like fetching data that you could need inside of here, which is exactly what we're going to be doing in this example. So like I said, it is asynchronous, and that's exactly what we need because we'll make it async. We'll put a callback function over here, and obviously I need to close this. And what we can get from this callback function is we have access to the params, and the params allows us to have access to the ID, which will be params.id, and that allows us to now fetch this API with this ID. So let me do this. So to do that, let's just say const response is equal to await fetch, and then we'll pass in the link here, and then we'll just do slash and then put ID here. And when we get the response for that, we'll just check to see if not response.ok, then let's throw error, and then else, if that's not the case, let's grab the data, set it equal to await response.json, and then we'll just return the data. That means that now, if I want to get the data from this API request, I can say const equals to use loader data. This should import, and then did it not actually? Oh yeah, we have to put the from, and then specify that we're getting this from /posts/ID, and we want to get the data back. However, we are returning just like this. So what I want to do actually is return this back by creating this an object with a variable called data, and you'll see that automatically it recognizes the type and it allows us to import over here. And now I want to say, and just remove this and just put a h1 tag for the data.title. And now this title over here, this h1, should reflect the correct information based on this title over here. If we go here, you see this is exactly what happens. So it is correctly fetching the data from the loader, and it is allowing us to access it over here. I could add more things. I could just make this into a p tag and then say data dot, what else is in this data? Oh yeah, the body. So I can say data.body, and then just display this, and it will do that as well. Now, one good thing about this as well is that it allows us in this create file route to add the two other sides of dealing with fetching data, which is the pending state, right? The pending component, which is whenever we're fetching or whenever this loader hasn't finished yet, it will be calling this. So we can return back here div or a loading spinner, but I'm just going to say loading and 3 dots. And you'll see that for a brief second, as I fetch this, it should show the loading thing, but you should probably use a spinner if you're building a production ready application. And the third state is the error state, and the error state, you can access it like this. If there's any errors thrown, then you can show something like this. There was an error. Let's force an error. So I think an error is going to be thrown if you put, for example, nothing over here. Let's see. And yeah, that's exactly what happens. And the reason for that is because the response here is not going to be okay. We're going to throw an error. It's going to automatically default to this error component, and it's going to show this over here. So the last thing I want to talk about is the idea of setting up your own 404 not found page. So if you don't know what that is if you go to a website and you just put whatever here, it's going to say some message showing that the page wasn't found. For the Tanstack router, it defaults to just this text saying not found here. But if you're making a production ready website, you definitely want to create a good user experience. So we might want to create a default one for our whole project. So how do you do that? Well, where we create our router, which is in our main.tsx over here, we could add some specifications for this router. And one of the specifications is the default not found component. And you saw that there were a couple other ones over there that you could specify as well if you want to. But for this example, we're just going to specify this. We could, for example, set up a div here that has a h1 tag with a sad face. Say, sorry, this page doesn't exist. And then we could have a link that is going to take us to our home page. So link to and then slash. And you can see that now that we're in this made up route, it shows this instead of the default one, and we can go home. So that's a good experience that you want to definitely set up in your project, and it works with any not found page. You could also set that up for individual routes if you want to as well. And they usually go inside of, for example, over here, you could set up a not found component for this specific route if you wanted to. So this is all I wanted to go over in this mini crash course for a Tanstack router. I personally really enjoyed the developing experience. I don't have that much experience with Tanstack router. Obviously, it's a very new library, and it will continue developing a fan base as time progresses. It utilizes a lot of things that already existed from React Router, and I think that the things that they copied or more got inspired from, more specifically, were the best parts of React Router, and the things that they fixed were also the worst parts of React Router. So I definitely think it's a great library that you should try out. I personally really enjoyed how easy it is to create your routes. It auto generates everything for us, and I really enjoyed this whole loader notation here. I think it makes a lot of sense. So definitely recommend checking them out. If you want to check out the code for this video, it's all going to be in the description. Again, if you want to check out a small cheat sheet for this video or a text based tutorial for this video, it will be in my website, PedroTech.co. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like down below and comment what you want to see next. Subscribe because I'm posting 2 to 3 times a week, and I would massively appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I see you guys next time.